Well, good morning, everyone. How are you doing today? Hope all is well where you are. Happy Halloween if you celebrate. And we'll get started today. What do you think of this new pretty paper? This will be available November, and it's usually on a Tuesday, so the first Tuesday. Sometimes it's available like tomorrow. So don't quote me on the Tuesday. You know, it's just how things go sometimes. All right, so I love this paper. I really didn't think that I would, but I do. So give me just 1 second. That is not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Okay. So this is one of the new paper packs, and I just flipped them back and forth, back and forth. They're not all set up right, and I've already used some, so some are a little shorter. It's not the full page. As always, thank you for shopping with me. And this paper is called Brushed with Beauty 167082. If you have any questions about any of the products that I use today, just send me a little note and I will get back to you on what it was, okay? All right, so that paper pack, I just started pulling the colors of ink that match that paper pack. For the first card, 2 of the colors are Early Espresso and Darling Duckling, okay? And then there's also in that suite of products this beautiful patterns embossing folder. And hopefully you can see that. Oh yeah, should be able to see that texture pretty well. And I will have it on a card, so you can see it on there too. So I just started pulling stuff out. And then what else do I want to show you? Oh, I'll show you this. So this is what that texture looks like. It is really pretty. Reminds me of sewing or cross stitch or something like that. It's just a pretty background. So the stamp set that I used is the Words of Beauty, and it does have a die set with it. I love now that we get what all the die shapes or words are, so that way you know if you're missing something. There's a 9. There should be 9 in there, which is really nice. And who doesn't always need words, right? So that's the set that I used for the first card, with the exception of, I also used, where is it? Give me just a second, because I'm missing, where'd it go? Well, I will, oh, it's in here. I used It's Your Birthday, same set. So here's the card that I made. And this is some of that DSP, some of that pattern paper. I cut out the because, and this is one of the little frames you get. Here's this, and this is flat. It's inlaid in there, okay? And I wanted to show you what I did, because you notice it looks like it's on top of, because you see the pattern of die behind here, okay? If I had cut this out and I didn't do what I'm going to show you that I did, which I don't know about you, but I thought it was pretty genius, then you would have just a hollow spot here and it would show the dark paper. So what I did is I had stamped one of these out, and I'm going to show you a little how I colored that in just a second. But I had my embossed piece. I punched it out where I wanted, and then I took another embossed piece, and this is just to show you as an example. And, hold on, I set my paper, if you want the embossed where you can feel it and it's not the negative where it goes in, then have the Stampin' Up facing up towards you. And I just used this little line to keep me straight to put my pattern in like so. And then my second piece, which was not this one, but I'm just using it as an example, I did the same thing, okay? So they're fairly close to what you need to match up is basically all I'm telling you that is for, okay? So we'll take our first piece, and let's do it this way. And all I did was, you can see that we're pretty darn even. So I just started matching up until I got to where it matched up, which is, so see this little cross I would put there. And then matched it up, okay? And then I taped it together. Before I put the bottom layer onto the first layer, the bottom layer I put adhesive like here. So that way I had some wiggle room. And then I laid my other piece down and then glued it down here some more. I hope that makes sense. If I need to show you, let me know, okay? And then the other thing I wanted to show you is how I colored this. So I have my little, let's put that up there. I have my colors and early espresso, and Darling Duckling. Okay, and we're gonna need our stamp pads. I'm going to set this under here just so I don't get my surface and get ink on everything. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little guy and I'm going to stick it underneath there, and I'm holding it where the flower is. And then I'm just going to take some ink and just start putting some ink. Okay, let's get this going. Putting some ink onto these leaves, okay? Go as dark as you want, light as you want. It always looks like it's not very dark until you look at it. So keep that in mind. And then I just take a reverse with the yellow, stick that part in there, hold on to the leaves, and start coloring the yellow. As much or as little as you want. I'm going to do it so you can see it. Okay, so that's how I colored that little flower. Excuse me a sec while I put these away, because otherwise I will get them all over me. I don't know about you. Are you that way? If something's out, you stick your finger in it no matter what? Okay, so I can get this out of the way. Wash that off quick in case we need it again. All right. So now, say I have these two pieces together, right? And we've got our little flower going on. This would be on the opposite side. Then I just glued this and just put it back into that inlay, like so. So then it's nice and flat. Here's the cardigan. And the two new bling that come with the two new sets. This is the one that matches this suite, which is Brushed with Beauty. And these are Pearls of Beauty, 167098. Okay, but since I used Darling Duckling, I decided to pull out the Darling Duckling in color that's in the yearly, and I use the Darling Duckling for my dots. The other new bling, if you will, goes with the Hobby Heaven Suite, which I don't have the paper yet, so I can't show you. But you'll be able to see it tomorrow online. And these are the Earthly Matte Dots. So they are very much matte. They are a little bit flatter than this. These dome up, and these are just flat, you know, they don't have that dome on the top. So I think they're close to the same size. There's just that little hump that these pearly ones have that these do not. I like stuff to be flat. I don't know about you. Oh, and please tell me if you're watching the replay. I'd love to know. And as always, if I do these on Facebook, And then I put them on YouTube. So if you could visit my YouTube channel, Jackie Bluhm 3117, and like, share, and subscribe, I'd really appreciate the help. Thank you. All right, next card. Next card, I pulled out a couple of different colors. Just set that there. You won't be able to see it, but I'll pull it back in. Our Petal Pink and Calypso Coral. Here's something I love about these. They're plastic, so when you get gunk on them or ink, you can just go wash them off. All right, enough about that. And I also have one more stamp to show you. Get all this stuff out of the way that I used, which is, and this is a big one, but oh my gosh, you guys gotta have this. Lasting Linen. It's just a big stamp, and I love that it's clear. I used it with my Misty. I'm not sure if Stampin' Up has a block big enough. Maybe we'll get some Misty. I don't know. Maybe we'll get a bigger block. I think it's fairly close, the biggest one. So I stamped up a bunch of this Lasting Linen stamp. And I ended up with a bunch of colors that I did in the stamp pads that that match the paper, okay? So I just did up a bunch. All right, so here is the second card that I did. And I wanted to show you that this one, let me hold this up so you can see it. There we go. This one, this linen texture, I actually stamped the flower out of it, and I just lined these up. Thought it was a cool way to do it. I had seen a card that they had put all of these flowers all over the background, like white on white. And I thought, oh, that's pretty. I started punching them out, and I'm like, oh, that's a lot of work. So I just made a row of them. This, again, is the textured paper, the back side, which is the little bit more plainer side, if you will. And then I used these. So what is that, you might ask? That is a new punch. It also has a word set. We're always looking for words, right? So here's some really good ones. And I won't go through because you can just stop the video and read them yourself. Make sure you see everything. And what I did, here's another piece of that scrap. And I just, I had one here. Obviously it was this one. But if you just will put them on a little strip. You know, if you have a big piece of paper, you've got to figure out which orientation to put, where to stamp your image before you punch it. And you could punch it and then stamp it too. But then you can go through and say, do I want this one? Do I want this one? Do I want this one? Let's go with this one. Oh, let's go with this one. Yeah, this one. And then I just hold it to where it's not moving and then punch. And yeah, you're going to get a little bit of extra, but you know, that's okay. And then the last one, I don't think I saved the right spacing for, so, you know, cut that out yourself. All right. So this punch, and I love that these close down. So it's a lot easier to store than to store that. And this one is Banner Sayings, is the stamp set that it goes with. And I don't have the item number on here. Oops, I'll have to go back and put it on there. All right, so that's that. And here's the card again. Isn't that pretty? Just kind of tone on tone. Oh, I just realized that that's crooked. If you lift up gently, you can sometimes get these up. So let's just fix that. Don't like stuff to be crooked. There we go. Okay, card number 2. Card number 3, we're going to build, because what I did is I just pulled out those scrap pieces that I had. All these colors. That's the one I took from here. And I cut some up. Here's my card base. I just cut some up, right? And I colored in some flowers, those colors. And I punched a words. Oh, if I can pick them up. I punched a word. Celebrate. Could be anything, right? And oh, I forgot to show you where that stamp set, the dies are. This is where the flower is from. And it is Swirling Designs dies. And it goes with this, which is another one you gotta have. Swirl Designs. It's just nice for all different things. You remember last week I used like 3 or 4 of these bits on last week's video. Okay. So let's put a card together. And the colors of this card, and revert back to that paper pack, is Lost Lagoon, Old Olive, and Calypso Coral. Okay? Getting too much on my desk. If you could see just past my desk, you'd see there's like this pile. Okay. So those colors there. And I also pulled in a little bit of just Calypso Coral. And I will need that little sheet. Where did it go? Oh, it's right here somewhere. Here it is. So I'm going to need this for gluing. This is my little silicone craft sheet. Love this thing. Another kind of like tool that you kind of just need to have. And it's $6.50, so it's relatively inexpensive. You can put glues and stuff on here, and they'll wash off or rub off. It's great. 127853 is the item number. So I'm going to stick that just right there. And pull in some tape. Let me see if I can remember how I had this. I think like that. Yes. Okay. So here's a little tip for you too. Just this little sideline tip. If you put this down on your crafting mat, let me bring this in, and you put adhesive on it, you're gonna get adhesive. It won't, it won't stick, but you'll get some going in those little areas there, the little hollows. And so what I do is I take my pick tool and I just go around and kind of clean them up. So if you want to do that, you can. But I like using this super fine glue, fine tip glue pen, that's what it's called. It's a little bit easier and you don't have to do all that digging, okay? So we'll get to that in a second. Let's put our pieces down. I love my grid because then I can measure where everything's gonna go. I can line it up straight. So I'm just dry fitting it on there. You girls that come know what I mean. My crew of ladies that do cards with me. I also do scrapbooking. Okay, I think I wanted to do it like that. A little bit less at the top, a little bit more at the bottom. So we are going to put this over here. A little bit of adhesive. Oops, I hate when I go too far. Sometimes if you go too far, then it stops the adhesive from being right where you need it. So if you push too far up on it, it will get rid of all of the glue, and then it's not on that little rolly bar where you need it. So one way you can do it is if you catch it, then you can just go over and it'll pull it down. So if you get a little bit, so say I didn't have all of it on here, if I were to just touch that roller to there, then it'll forward it until it does have adhesive, if that makes sense at all. All right, let's put this down. I'm just going to give it an eyeball there. Sorry. The other thing you can do is if you have a really thin piece, I butt them together, like maybe you have a couple of 1/2-inch strips. I'll butt them together and just do them at the same time. And then you have them done. Let's see, this one next. So we'll put this on. Just take your time. And this, oops, sticky stuff. There we go. How do you like that? And this one I know we're gonna have to cut off a little bit. Oh, maybe I should. Let's see if we can do this. No, I can't get it in there. Sometimes if your punch is wide enough and you want just the little pennant, you can stick it down in, and if this was a little thinner, I could do it. But you stick it in down this way, punch it, and then it doesn't punch the other side. But this one is too big, so we'll just leave it at that. All right, so then I thought I would put this onto here. I don't think I want it all the way across, but that's good enough. Okay, so about that much. Ugh, can't do stuff left-handed, that's for sure. All right, there we go. Let's put this down here, about where it is. I'm lining up. I'm looking where my adhesive is. I can always add a little more. And then we will cut this off. And try not to cut your card. It's always helpful, right? All right, so now we need to put these on here. And I'm going to pull this in. I'm going to turn these over. I might want to stick that up. So let's get our glue out. And that is a really fine tip. And this wiggles around a lot, okay? It's very, so when I put it back on, I put my finger there so I can hold it. So that way I can get it back in there. Because otherwise it's impossible. I don't know, maybe there's somebody out there that's better than me. And I always kind of make sure it's coming out. I kind of tend to do it off of, there we go, off of my project. I don't want a big dump of glue on my project. And this is nice because it's clear. So I'm just going around to the spots on the flower that have some big junctures that I can put a bunch of glue on. And then I like to pick it up with tweezers because that's helpful. And, oops, I should not have glued that all the way down. There we go. Come on. Oh my goodness. You know, on camera, of course it's going to go wrong. Okay, we will just set that on top instead. So there's one. The other thing you can do is, if you have a block, just set a block on there and then that'll kind of transfer. So again, I know that it's coming out now, so it shouldn't, unless I really squeeze it hard. Don't squeeze it too hard to begin with, so you don't have that problem. And I didn't even look to see which one this is. Let's see. Oh, that's the other one there. So we'll lean that down. So I just kind of double duty. We'll hold on to it and hopefully can glue a little bit while we're going. I hope that you find these entertaining, at least, and informative and helpful. All right, our last one. We'll put up a little bit higher. Give that a second. Let's pull in some glue dots, some dimensionals. And I've got little ones and big ones, but I think I'll use the little ones, will be most helpful. Okay, and I don't know if you noticed, they come like this, okay? But I just put an alcohol marker, so that way now I can tell if I've got the backing off or not. And another little tip is to just stab it, and it takes off all the little pieces for you. Okay. Celebrate. Hopefully that's straight. It's a little hard with the ring overhead. Okay, let's see if I can do this now. There we go. You always want to put that lid on as soon as you can because you don't want it to dry out. It's such a fine applicator that it'll clog up easily, okay? All right, so how about a little bling for this one? Where'd my bling go? Let's see about these. Oh, these little white ones are really pretty. Another thing I often do is just set them on there to see what I like. I think I like, another thing to do is just squish them, okay? And that just makes sure that the little glue dots on the back are really adhered. Sometimes they'll go flying off and leave the glue dot part on there, so I just push them down. All right, and you know what I do? I do triangles, so let's use a small one. Come on. And a medium. Oh, there is no medium. Just small and not small. And how about there? So we've got 1, 2. We could come down to here, or we could come to here. That's kind of a square. Okay, let's just grab one and we'll play with it and see where we like it. And we've got a lot happening here, so I'm thinking we want to go out here. How about that? There we go, like that. All right, so I hope that you learned a lot. And as always, you know what I'm gonna say. Which one is your favorite? Number 1, number 2, or number 3? And I see that I need to glue that down a little bit more. Those 2 little leaves are just not sticking. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and we'll give it a try. And I will see you next week with another new one. Would you like to see what it's going to be? So, the die in the stamp set is Pop-Up Petals. And this, I'm really interested in seeing how that works. It should be really easy. So, I'll see you next week for this one and some more fun stamping ideas and techniques for you. As always, take care and have a good weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye now.